Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in the sunny afternoon here. um, so again, my name is Penny. I just want to quickly introduce myself today. I know I have about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. And today's topic is it's important, but we want the style to be quite casual. So if you have any questions, feel free to just unmute and ask me. Feel free to stop me or put it in the chat box or wait till the end. We'll leave some time for questions too. Because we're talking about financial planning, and I know all the audience today is a bit younger, right? We have a bit younger audience today. So what I want to talk about is the basics about financial planning. And I want to later on share a story about myself when I was about 12 years ago, what happened to me, what I went through and to start my financial planning. So we just want to have everyone today to have a little bit of overview of what financial planning should have, or where you can start, what areas you can consider when you are thinking about financial planning. And that's our main goal today. If you want to, and obviously everybody's different, your goals are different, your lives are different, and your experience, your background, everything is different. So when we are talking about financial planning, it's mostly personalized, right? There's no cookie cutter planning that you could just apply on everyone. So I hope that today, after today's session, you can take something back and start to reflect on yourself and think about where you can start when you're thinking about your financial planning. All right, first thing, who am I? So you already know my name. My name is Penny. I grew up in China and moved to Canada 20-something years ago for school, and I went to UBC Sauder School of Business, and I had my Bachelor of Commerce there, and worked for a couple of years here and decided it's not really where I want to go. So I went back to school. I went to San Diego State in California and had my MBA there. So in 2010, I moved back to Vancouver. And at that time, I got a new job. I started something. I was lucky enough. My parents helped me bought a place, and I was just paying for the mortgage, living on my own. But at that time, I was thinking, okay, this is the new stage of my life. I know that I always knew that I should save something. I should plan for the next stage of my life. But what can I do? I didn't really know anything. Yes, I went to business school, but business school, they don't really teach you about your own financial planning. So I was quite confused. I had actually a call just when I was just thinking about financial planning. Had a call from RBC. There's a new account manager calling me. Wanted to talk to me about my financial planning. I said, oh yeah, perfect. I was just thinking about it. So we had a short meeting. Basically I was telling her, here's where I am. I want to start something. I know I need to plan for my next stage. I just don't know what to do. My income's not that high. I don't have any savings at the time. I think I had a little bit of GIC, that's all. What can I do? She's like, okay, we can definitely take some time to work on something. And then guess what? I never heard from her again. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably because, exactly like I said, I didn't have a lot of money. I had debt. I couldn't save a lot at that time. I wasn't the perfect client, the perfect client. So that's probably why she kind of just moved on to other clients, other opportunities. And I think of that, and I think about everyone my age at that time. This is why we couldn't save more. We couldn't be at a better place now because what happened 10 years ago. and nobody was helping me. All I had was a little bit of knowledge from my parents, a little bit of knowledge from school. I had pieces of knowledge from my friends, from the news, but I never had the actual knowledge, the entire look of financial planning. I didn't even know where to start. Luckily, about a year and a half later, a friend introduced me to, well, at that time, the company was called Freedom 55 Financial. It was actually London Life and now Canada Life. I was introduced to the opportunity to become an advisor. And I thought, okay, this is great, right? I was really interested in the industry, the area of the work, and I really wanted to do something for myself. So I took on that opportunity, and I've stayed at the company since. So now I'm still working with clients on financial planning, investment. At the same time, I'm doing training. I'm a training manager at Canada Life. So I train new advisors and experienced advisors. I train them with the entry level knowledge and with the updated knowledge. So I work with clients, I work with advisors. So I have quite a bit of an understanding of what's going on there, what's changed, what's financial planning like now. And I do actually believe that this will be my lifelong career of working with people to set up their financial planning, so we could be at a better place in 10 years, 20 years, 30, 60 years from now. All right, so financial planning. I don't know how excited you were when you heard about this topic. You might be thinking, oh, financial planning, I don't know. I don't want to look at what I don't have right now. I don't have a lot of savings. I don't have a lot of income. I'm probably not, like me 12 years ago, not the perfect client for financial planning. What can I do? There's not much I can do. Or you might be very excited thinking financial planning, I'm going to invest a lot of money and, invest in Bitcoin or stocks, right? So everybody, from my experience, from my clients' experience, everybody has a different view on financial planning based on what you learned, what you were told. But most people that I met didn't really have a whole picture of financial planning. So usually people think about financial planning, like I said, money, investment, right? You save money, you invest, but it's only part of it. So think of our life, our, let's say, net worth as a building, right? We want to build a tall and strong building as high as possible. We want 20-story, 30 stories, skyscraper. And that's great. That's what we want to do. That's exactly what we do for our clients to help them increase our net worth, accumulate wealth. At the same time, when you think about building a skyscraper, this 30-story building, what's the first thing we need to do? Right? It's not start building. As soon as you hear building a 30-story building, the first thing we do is not just start piling up material, right? The first thing we do, we think about where we want to go. Do we want 20-story? Do we want 30-story? Is it possible? Maybe we can try 40, and that's great. So we set the goal, and what's the next step? We think about our foundation now, right? So the taller the building, usually, I would say if you want a strong building, we want our foundation to be deeper and stronger. And that gave us the ability to build as high as we want. So when we think about our own personal planning, first thing we think about where we want to go, what we should have, what we want us to have. And you shouldn't really limit yourself, and you shouldn't limit yourself to, exactly what I want now is exactly what I want to achieve. Yes, things will change, right? 12 years ago, I didn't know that I would have 2 kids and be living in the suburbs. I didn't know that. I kind of thought maybe that's what I want, but I wasn't sure. And that's fine. I planned it for, what I could have in the next 5 years and 10 years. And we always will make changes. But no matter where we want to go, we still want to start from our foundation. And these four areas are what make our foundation. So cash flow, income protection, retirement, and estate planning. So whenever we think about financial planning, we could always, doesn't matter at which stage you are, you're a young single person just going to the workforce, you are, you're married, family, doesn't matter where we are. Here's the 4 areas we could always start with. And I can spend a little bit of time on each of these areas, and I'll explain why we need to start from here and not buying stocks and making money. So our life, when you think about our life, it is short, but it's quite long, right? Let's say you're 25 or 30 years old, and you have about 30, 35 years to work, right? So we have this much time to work, and at age 65, maybe 60, because nobody wants to work till 70, and you're thinking about slowing down and maybe retire and just enjoy your life. But a lot of us at this stage, we don't know what retirement's like. Maybe your parents not even retired, right? They might be still working, so you don't know what retirement's like. And we're thinking, oh, once you retire, you don't really need a lot. But from your 65, you probably have another 30, 35 years to live, right? And if you don't start planning, and the last 30 years of your life, it's only all the income is from the first 30 years of your life when you started working. So if we don't plan enough, and what we'll be facing is we cannot live the life we want by the time we retire. So think about now, I think the average lifespan is about 84 years old, but by the time we retire, or we get to 85 years, our lifespan is probably going to be 90, 95, right? That's very possible. So we do have quite a bit of years to live, and so yes, we know we need to plan for retirement, and but at the same time, from now to retirement until age 95, when we finally leave this world, there's a lot of things could happen to us, right? Things that we cannot plan for. Like, for example, what just happened in Turkey, right? There's huge earthquakes going on. People are hurt. People or some people unfortunately died from it. And these things, right? We couldn't plan for it. Or think about the pandemic, right? Lots of people lost their jobs at the beginning of the pandemic, or in the middle of the pandemic, and we didn't plan for that. And many people thought, oh, my job is secure, until all of a sudden overnight we lost our job. All the hotels were closed, the restaurants were closed, so we couldn't plan for those. But all of those things could have a huge impact on our financial planning, right? Think about if we lost our job and we couldn't find work for 2-3 years, or we have to, make very low income for 2-3 years. What does that do to your retirement plan? Or if I got hurt, could never go back to work. I had clients who were 80 or not 80, 50 years old and had a stroke and had to claim total disability and couldn't go back to work. Think about what that could do to affect your life now from age 50 till 85, right? So before we talk about making money, saving money, investing money, building our 30-story building, and we need to first plan for these things. We call the unexpected events. So even though we cannot we cannot prevent these events from happening, what we could do is to plan for all kinds of situations. So in case these things happen to us, we could reduce the damage to the minimum amount, right? So if we lost a job, but we had other savings, right? If we got sick, but we've had protection, these could at least help us to sort of make sure that our financial planning will still be able to maintain, right? So any questions right now? All right, if not, we'll go into these the four areas, and I'll go into a little bit of details, just touch on a little bit of details and what these areas are, and then maybe you could think about your situation, what's most important to you today. All right, so first thing we'll also talk about is cash flow. So cash flow is your ability to access cash, right, in case of emergency usually. So let's think about, if you own a house, right? What happened if your roof is leaking, right? Now all of a sudden I need a new roof. Or if you own a car, what happens? Someone hit my car and I have to get a new car. There are different ways to access cash. You could have savings, you can have your credit card, line of credit, but what's the best solution? Right? Do you really want to get into more debt, or is it better to be able to set aside some money so you can use it in case of these emergencies? So usually whenever you talk about cash flow, all the books or the experts will usually suggest that we put aside 3 to 6 months of income. And the reason is there are studies and saying usually when you lose a job, takes on average about 3 to 6 months to find a job that you really like. So you have about 6 months between jobs. And in case of, let's say, disability, you have EI that maybe could help you for a couple of weeks. Maybe your company will have disability insurance to help you cover the first few months. And so we want to make sure that we have a little bit of buffer in case of any emergency that happens. So when you start working, or if you're already working, you could just take a look at your overall financial situation and just think about what could happen, right? Do you have any possible emergency coming up? Your home, your personal emergency, your family, right? Sometimes our family needs help. Are you able to help them in case they ask you? Okay, so these are things we could start asking ourselves. And it's and cash flow is not on top of emergencies. We want to also think about opportunities, right? There are always investment opportunities, other opportunities that you want to be able to grab when it comes up. Like for example, let's say the flights, right? There's the flights to Toronto, it's all of a sudden on sale, or there's a really good resort on sale. Are you able to grab that opportunity? So when we think about cash flow, that's why we don't just call it emergency fund, because it covers both emergencies and opportunities. So when you, let's say, start working, if you don't have this fund set aside, there's something you could start doing. Let's say every paycheck you could put aside 10 to 30%. So 10% is what we used to, right? Many years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, our parents will ask our kids to put aside 10% every paycheck. But just ask yourself, is 10% still enough in the environment now? Do you think when we retire, first of all, are things more expensive or cheaper, right? And second of all, think about retirement, CPP, OAS, right? All the things that the government's paying us. Are we going to have more by the time we retire, or less, right? So right now the numbers are for each retired person, there are about 7 like working people supporting one retirement person. By the time we retire, guess what would happen? There will be about 2 to 3 working people supporting one retired person. So we're definitely not going to get more. And then think about companies, right? Are companies paying you more? No. So for example, companies used to have, like especially large companies, they used to have a really great retirement, like pension plans. Companies like Canada Life, we used to have defined benefit plans, right? So they will pay you a certain amount. But now all the big companies are switching to defined contribution plans. So it means that, yes, I'll match your contribution, but whatever you get by the time you retire, it's all luck. Right? So because we're not getting anything, not getting more from our company, from our society, and that's why we need to put aside more on our own. So we really hope and suggest that everybody could put aside maybe 20, maybe hopefully 30% of each paycheck to your contributed towards your cash flow, your retirement, just for later, right? For rainy day, right? And we just talked about the first thing, right? So we know that having the ability to get cash is important, and we're able to put aside money because we still have income, right? So here's a question I want to ask you to ask yourself. What's your greatest asset? Right? So is it your house? Is it your car? Is it your knowledge? Is it your right, your computer? Right? What is it? Right? So, or maybe in 10 years, what will be your greatest asset? Right? So yeah, a lot of people would say it's my company, or it's my house, or my children, my family, right? But your greatest asset is you. To be more exact, it's your ability to earn income. You're able to support your house, to get a mortgage, to pay for it. You're able to pay for good school for your children. You're able to support the lifestyle you want your family to have. It's because you are still able to make income, right? It sounds very, it sounds like reality, right? So just think about if you have, let's say if you can print money, if you have a machine that prints you money, $100, $200, $1,000 a day, what would you do to protect that machine, right? Would you lock it up in your basement, maybe hire some guards to protect it, you know, have a really, you know, to different locks to lock up your house, right? Would you do that for the money printing machine? And so just put yourself in that position. You are the machine that could print money, right? You have your company, you have your job, and you are doing that for your family, right? You're printing money for your family. So what would you do to protect yourself? We had lots of we heard lots of, I've been in this industry for 10 years. I heard lots of stories about how, you know, people had their house, their home, they had this great job, great family. All of a sudden, this main breadwinner gets sick or gets hurt and couldn't go to work anymore, couldn't make any more income. What would happen to them, right? Or you could maybe think about someone you know, your family member or friends who had a critical illness, right? Stroke, heart attack, cancer. What happened to them? Did they have to, let's say, sell their house or move to a smaller place? Did they have to give up some of the lifestyle and to hopefully they can still live? What happened to them? Or if they had support, if they had protection, right? Did it change a lot? Did their life change a lot? Right? So the thing is, we are getting, I see more people getting sick, and more people getting sick at a younger age. So I actually just saw the new stats yesterday. In the States, about 40.9% of men will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. So that's more than 1/3. For women, it's about the same, 20.1%. So 1/3 of people today will be diagnosed with cancer in our lifetime. But that doesn't mean that our life will end, right? It just means that because we have the modern medical, we're able to actually be cured, and cancers, we have a much better chance of surviving. But it doesn't mean that just because we're physically well, doesn't mean that our financial is all taken care of. So a lot of families are suffering from financial losses. At the same time, they're suffering physical issues. So this is where you should, when you first started working or when you're building your financial planning, this is another area you should really look at before you get into any of the savings, right? Protect yourself, protect your ability to earn income first. So let's say you were looking for a job, right? A job A pays you $60,000 a year, but it has no support, right? It doesn't give you anything. As soon as you get sick or injured, you cannot work, then you get nothing. Then job B pays you a little bit less, just a little bit, right? $58,200 a year, almost the same, but they will pay you some money if you are sick or injured or couldn't go to work. So ask yourself, which job would you like? Right? So I believe most people would prefer job B. So that means that if your work, or let's say if you're self-employed, you own your own business, if your work didn't give you any protection from the employee benefit or group benefit, you should first of all consider protect your income, protect your ability to make income. Okay. Any questions so far? Should I keep going? And then we are at retirement, right? So we keep working. We work for many, many years, 30 years, 40 years. And by the time we want to slow down, or when our physical ability doesn't allow us to keep working at the same capacity anymore, we should consider retirement. I mean, retirement's not like we will just stop working completely and just sit at home and do nothing, or watch TV and go gardening all day. It's not like that. Everybody's retirement is different, right? So I know you're still young, you're 20 something, maybe 30. You're like, retirement, that's so far away from me, right? I can't picture what retirement will be like. I'll be so old. I'll probably, not be able to even live when I'm not working, right? It's so boring. But you don't have to, like I said, when you're setting your goals, when you're thinking about something happening in 30 years, 50 years, you don't have to decide now, right? You could give yourself sort of an idea where you want to be, what you want to do, but things are always changing. But there's one thing that doesn't change is, yes, one day we will slow down. And everybody, because everybody's timeline is a little bit different, everybody's lifestyle is a little bit different, that really should be something that you could only ask yourself, right? What you want to do, what you might like, and how much time you have. So let's say something I just mentioned earlier, you're 30 years old. Yes, retirement sounds like a long way from now. You have 35 years, or some people say, I never want to retire, and that's fine, right? But we still have about our peak years, right, for working. It's about 30 years, 35 years. And then by the time we're 65, 70, physically, mentally, we want to slow down. We have other things we might want to do. So you really only have about 30, 35 years to make a living, for pay for everything now, pay for your home, pay for your children, and save for the last 30, 35 years of your life. And our retirement's not always the same at different stage either. So first of all, when we think about retirement, we could only think about when we're 65, maybe we want to go traveling a little bit, go on a cruise a couple times a year, travel the world, or maybe slow down, and that's fine. But we won't be able to do that for very long, because by the time we're, let's say, 75, 80 years old, physically, we just cannot travel as much, we cannot do as much, so our time will slow down a little bit. But then the last 10 years, maybe even longer, our cost of retirement might be even higher, because we, at that time, will be, I don't know, like we could have dementia, we could have physical problems that we're paralyzed, we're not able to move, we need professional support, nurses, maybe retirement home. So when we think about retirement, there are different stages too. But really, it's what the lifestyle, it's up to two things, right? The lifestyle we want and our physical and mental constraints. So now that you're still young, right? You have a bright future ahead of you. Nobody wants to think about retirement. But this is the perfect time for us to think about retirement, because we have so many possibilities, because we have the most powerful thing called time. But just think about when you're 60 years old and you want to plan for retirement, it's a bit late. So I really want you to start thinking about think about retirement not as a depressing topic, but as like a more exciting a topic. It's like a second chapter of our life, right? Think about what you want to do for yourself. Think about what could happen if you start now, right? So like I said, the most powerful thing is time. When you search for, let's say, power of compound, usually this picture will show up. If you try, person A puts aside $500 a month, right, from age 30. And then by the time you're 65, you might have a certain amount of time, let's say $500,000. Person B starts at age 40, and you put aside twice as much, so $1,000 a month. And you put in the same investments, same returns, and by the time you retire, and your savings is usually about 2/3, maybe even half of what person A would have. And the reason is because power compound. It's really not hard. Just Google power compound, different savings at different age. There are lots of pictures will show up and give you a strong visual of why you should start early. So when you start your own company, when you start building your bright future, when you think about what all the possibilities, what could happen, what I could achieve, just always don't forget there's another 30 years waiting for us, right? By the time after we retire. So start early. Take advantage of the time. And the last thing we usually talk about when we're talking about financial planning is estate planning. So it sounds even more depressing and even further away from us. Like, oh, I'm 30 years old. Why I'm talking about, dying and estate planning, right? The same thing. There are people who could die when they're 95 years old, and they can, proper plan their estates. Money goes to kids, money goes to here and there. But there are also unfortunate events like premature death, right? Accidents, sickness, anything could happen. And these are all the things we don't know, right? We don't know when it would happen and how it would happen. And that's what put us and our family in danger. So we, like I said, we built all this, our net worth. We built our empire. We have a company, but something happened to us all of a sudden, who's going to take care of your company? Who's going to take your asset? And is your family okay to maintain their lifestyle? Are they going to be in financial crisis? So these are the things that we might want to start also planning when we're at younger age. Because when we're younger, like I said, we had time. We have also another advantage called health, right? So usually when we're talking about estate planning, it's about life insurance, right? Protect your life if something happened. And there are two areas we usually look at when we're thinking how much life insurance we might need. So the first area, we call it immediate cash needs. This is when if someone dies, there are things that we have to pay for right away. Like, for example, our funeral costs, there's some taxes we have to pay, lawyer fees, all kinds of fees. Or if we want to leave some legacy, if we leave some money for our loved ones, right? These would happen as soon as we die. The second part is a bit longer time period called income replacement. So our family, doesn't matter if it's your parents, your children, your loved one, your spouse, they might need your income to survive, right? To pay for the daily expenses. So let's say if they're not working, or if your family needs both your income to survive, and then all of a sudden someone dies and the other one would be definitely go into financial crisis. Maybe they have to sell their place, they have to move to a different city, or a lot of things could happen. So we should, when we're thinking about life insurance, we need to think about these two areas, right? Pay for the things that could, cash needs that we need to pay, things we need to pay for right away, and providing for our loved ones for a little bit longer period. Let's say my little one, I have two kids, my little one's almost 2 years old. So when I'm thinking about providing for him, I'm thinking about 20 years, 25 years until he could support himself. Right? So yes, people are at our age, we might have lots of income or start to building our wealth, but we do also have a lot of responsibilities and lots of needs. So that's why when we're still young and everything's so cheap, we're so healthy, we're able to protect ourselves, this is when we need to start planning. So even though you're 20-something years old thinking, I don't have mortgage, I don't have kids, I don't need to do that right now, but think about in 10 years, right? So you in 10 years will be me and with family, with mortgage, with parents, aging parents, right? So by that time, it might be sometimes too late to plan. Right, so again, I just want to quickly touch on the 4 areas again. So when you are thinking about your financial planning, it doesn't matter where you want to go in your career or where you are at the stage, right? Single, young individual, young family, mature family, doesn't matter where you are. These are the 4 areas we usually look at first before we build our full planning. So your cash flow, do you have something set aside for emergency and opportunities? Income protection, in case we get hurt, we're no longer able to make income. Do you have something to support your self and support your family? And retirement, right? So since we're not getting much or more from our government, our company, and we need to take advantage of the time and start planning for retirement as soon as possible, right? At a young age where there are more options for us to choose. And finally, estate planning. Again, at a younger age, everything's cheaper, we're still healthy, we're still able to look at different options to protect us and our families, our loved ones. And so once you have these 4 areas all taken care of, and anything you have, you can put into different investment opportunities, buy a house, there are a lot of stuff that we could do once we have the strong foundation. right, so I'm not sure if any questions in the chat or anyone has any question that you want to just ask me. Here's my email again if you want to maybe ask me a question later. I'm very happy to answer anything you ask.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
Yeah, because there's a lots of new information, even from when I was starting learning financial planning. So it's great for the young people to start early. So I have a quick question. If somebody, they're still in university and they probably just have a part-time job right now, so they don't have too much income. So what's your recommendation, or from your experience, you see your clients, they should start in which area first?
Yeah, usually I think for younger people, especially when you're not working a lot, you're still in school, cash flow is definitely number one. Just to start having the habit of saving, right? Force yourself, because there's some people, think that, I'll just spend whatever I make, and by the end of the year, I can, save some money, or put in my RSP or my TFSA account. But usually, when we do that, the result's not as good, right? We usually spend whatever we have in the bank account. So what we recommend our younger clients to do is to, we call it pay yourself first. So as soon as you get paid, or set up your plan, set up your TFSA contribution plan, set up the pre-authorized contribution. So as soon as you get paid, the next day money gets put into your bank, your savings account, your TFSA, your RSP. And before you know it, you already have some savings, right? And in case of emergency or major purchase, I've seen clients, when I had this one client, and when he bought his first condo, he took out money from his TFSA that he saved over the years and paid for part of the down payment. So that's definitely, I think, for young people, cash flow is number one.
So anybody have questions, you can use this chance to ask Penny.
I have a question, but it's a bit of a concern, because like someone that is not, like Winnie has said about a part-time student not earning enough. Another concern I have is that if you're not a PR, I don't think you have access to the government, I think the OAS or CPP. You have to wait for you to get your PR, and once you're older, I think it's on a disadvantage for someone just coming in and quite older, let's say something around 40 years or in the late 30s. So trying to settle down and trying to force to get the PR, then after the PR, then try to get a job, then try to save is more of disadvantage. So what is your advice in maybe if the person was able to get a PR, then get a job? How can someone save when you're already up to 40, you have 20 years time to work? It's kind of a bit difficult than someone that start early in a team. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I work with a lot of new immigrants. It's a reality. Maybe you already built something back home, and you're starting a new life here. For sure, by the time you get your PR, we already missed like half the time period to contribute to CPP, and for OAS, we won't be able to get the full amount. So that puts more pressure on us to save, to plan for our own retirement. But I don't think it's a big concern though, because even though we are working in Canada, right, we have been living in Canada for 40 years and we can get the full OAS, it's actually not that much. And CPP, even the full CPP amounts about what, $1,200 a month. That's if you could, like in today's amount, right? So that's if you have been working a lot, ever since you started your working years in Canada, you would still be getting just the minimum to survive from CPP, from OAS. If you want to live a lifestyle that you want for retirement, most of the money is coming from your own savings, right? So maybe some people have a pension, but it's all up to us where we're like if we want to live the life we want to live. So even that you're not a PR right now, you could start your savings account, right? Start planning. I think even with the work permit, we can get TFSA, we can get our RSP, but most people are debating where I should put in RSP or TFSA. That's more specific issue, like how much your income is. So yeah, like it doesn't, like even on a work permit, it doesn't stop us from savings, right? I'm not sure, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
Yeah, Penny, you're correct, because even the people that work here 40 years, they don't get too much. And also Canada has one of the you know, like they call that more like a supplement benefit for the people that are really making, you know, under the whatever the poverty line, and that's what the Canadian government will match. Even somebody they're getting older, but they didn't stay in Canada 40 years working, and but they already get to the retirement age. Normally government give you the proportion of the CPP or OAS, but at the same time, normally they do give you a supplement to at least give you the you know, the basic living standard. That's what I see from you know, some of our older clients in tax filing. So we can see they're, you know, they didn't come to Canada when they were 18 years old. They came here like a 40 or maybe 50 years old. So they still can get some CPP and OAS if they worked for more than 10 years. But at the same time, government do give them, they call it more like a supplement to at least make them reach the, you know, like the living, basic living level. So pretty low, but it's still basic living level. That's what I saw. So they don't want you only making like $300 a month for OAS or $500 CPP. The government normally try to give you some other supplement to allowed. So this is what I see many immigrate actually later on when they filing taxes, they can get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what the government gave us is that we won't starve.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
maybe give you like $1,300 a month. So you couldn't, you know, live in a very luxury life. But if the older people get into an old folks home, right, they don't have too much expendings, they still can live a comfortable but basic life. That's what normally Canadian government will help. So anybody else have questions?
Penny, one question.
Yeah.
How would you suggest managing your TFSA account? Like investing with that TFSA account? How could we invest? What suggestion would you give us?
For TFSA, I think it's really, TFSA, it's one of I think it's one of my favorite government plans, just because it's very flexible. I see lots of people use TFSA for retirement, so to supplement your RSP and then other like pension, other retirement income. Or some people use that for their children's education. Some people use, a lot of younger people use it for your, let's say, cash flow emergency fund. And when you were talking about investment, it's really up to what you want the money to do for you, how long you have to invest. So usually when you have a longer time to invest, we could take up a little bit higher risk. So you can put in stocks. But if the money is for, let's say, emergency, or you might use it in a couple of years to purchase a place, we usually don't recommend you to put in a high risk investment. So you could pick a little bit of more stable, like fixed income mutual fund or bond, or even GIC if you want it very secure. So it's really up to you. And TFSA is something that you can open. It's a plan you can open in multiple locations. So you could even divide it up. So I want a part of my TFSA to be very secure because I'm going to need this money next year to buy a car. So put in your GIC. And another part of your TSA, you could use it for your retirement. And then you could go through some assessment and to decide the risk level, maybe buy some stocks and buy some mutual funds. So it's very flexible, and it's really up to what you want the account and the money to do for you.
Nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. How are we doing with time? Is it okay? Oh, you're on mute. Winnie,
Yeah, we're on the top of the hours and only a couple minutes. I just wanted to show a big thanks to Penny to help us and give a big thumb up, and also a clap. And so basically, I just want to thank you very much for the basic information. So anybody, if you're interested in to learn more, you can email to Penny, and then she maybe can give you some personal suggestions, because everybody's situation is different. And all the financial planning is a customized plan. None of them is a cookie cutter just for everybody. So Penny knows each client is have a different need, a different kind of priorities in their life. But for my personal experience, I came here late. I started earning some money probably already 35, 38 years old after school and in Canada. So it's the same boat, but I started $25 a month as a saving, gradually increase that every year. So I had a plan to invest $25 per month. And then next year it's $35 per month. Next year is $50 per month, right? And next year it's like $100 per month. So that's basically how it's gradually increase the saving. And that's how I did it personally. The situation is different. I just remember I came to Canada a few years, met one of the financial planner to say, if you don't have money, you're a poor student, you only earn like $20,000, and you can at least put in $25 a month. I said, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I can put in $25 per month, no matter how poor I am or how lack of money I am. And that's all built up eventually. So I'm really happy to have that particular start. And that's what my encouragement for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Winnie. Yeah. That's it. So I just want to add another thing that Winnie and I were talking before we started, that my favorite line now is called action absorbs anxiety. So when you're worried about your financial planning, when you're worried about your future, start something like what Winnie did, like start with $25, $50 a month. And then you get more comfortable, and you will start investing more by the time you make more money. And if you have social media, I'm sure you all do, you could also follow Canada Life. We have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel. Just follow Canada Life, because our company is always posting little tips on how to save, things on different products, what you should consider in different situations. So those are all really great channels for you to get a little bit more knowledge. So take advantage of this time that all these opportunities ahead of you, and I'm sure that everybody will have a bright future.